Today, we are living in the age of AI. Big tech is implementing data-driven algorithms everywhere to give them a competitive edge. But as much as intuition might tell us that incorporating technology into all facets of our daily lives would make things more fair, these algorithms come at an ethical cost. In particular, we see the ethical consequences of data bias in machine learning and healthcare. The biases in healthcare AI are first and foremost an ethical issue, from unconscious prejudices to systematically skewed data collection methods. Much of the data used to construct algorithms excludes minorities, meaning this bias often even more so exacerbates existing inequalities. On the technical side, machine learning algorithms are built off of training data sets, which are often where the resulting skew and bias comes from. Because of the substantial consequences of bias in healthcare, as great as life or death situations, it is important to ensure there are sufficient and just legal boundaries or standards given to the use of machine learning and algorithms in healthcare. Because of its recent emergence and ever-changing nature, as well as the lack of policymakers well-versed in the technical side of machine learning, policy and laws are not obvious in this space.
The ethical impacts of the use of artificial intelligence and machine learning in healthcare have become increasingly apparent as the technology becomes more widely used. The consequences of this technology range from data privacy issues to lower accuracy rates for minority populations and thus worse health outcomes. There are numerous issues related to data within healthcare technology and artificial intelligence. The one which directly impacts health outcomes is the homogeneity of study populations used in healthcare screening algorithms. Within genomic data alone, 80% of collected data comes from Caucasian participants. The impacts of inaccurate healthcare are critical to examine. Studies have revealed that the ethnic and gender biases present within medical artificial intelligence systems can lead to false diagnoses and suboptimal treatment regimens. The consequences of medical bias could lead to prolonged disease and even death. To begin to address the shortfalls of machine learning and AI in healthcare, it is crucial to diversify those involved in creating and regulating this technology. Diversity within data populations is also crucial, as this is where much of the bias within tech stems from. It is crucial that we recognize there is always a human behind the technology we use and ways to create more ethical systems.
Now we're going to address the computer and data science behind AI/ML models. To work with ML projects, we need a huge amount of data because without it, we cannot train the models. Collecting and preparing the data is one of the most crucial parts while creating a project. The technology applied behind any ML projects cannot work properly if the data is not well prepared and pre-processed. In building ML applications, data sets are divided into two parts, training and test. The training set is a subset of the data set to train the machine learning model, and we already know the output. The test set tests the machine learning model, and by using the test set, the model predicts the output. This is the flow of building an AI/ML predictive algorithm. Ultimately, we must try to make a machine learning model which performs well with the training set and also the test data set. Therefore, it is critical for the data set to be reliable and unbiased, or at the very least, biased with justification.
There is already legislation in place to address ethical issues with AI and machine learning in healthcare. This will regulate how AI and machine learning is used with patients to ensure their safety. 5 main legal challenges that are prominent in this area are safety and effectiveness, liability issues, intellectual property rights, data protection and privacy, and cybersecurity. To ensure safety and effectiveness, medical devices for healthcare are regulated by the FDA. AIs are also currently protected by many intellectual property rights that include long contracts, copyright, trade secrets, or the law of confidence and patents. Often a combination of these are vital to protecting intellectual property rights. Also, the use of AI raises questions of current liability regimes. In other words, if an AI were to incorrectly diagnose a patient, who would be responsible, the algorithm or the clinician? Currently, it is a clinician that will be held responsible and may face medical malpractice claims if this were to occur. This is because currently clinicians are using AIs as a confirmatory tool. Finally, especially in the age of AI, it is essential to have cybersecurity and data protection laws in place. Currently, HIPAA protects patients' private health data. As shown in the WannaCry ransomware attack, where the NHS in the UK was attacked by hackers, cybersecurity is essential. The Cybersecurity Act of 2018 is currently in place, which allows the federal government to defend against cyber attacks.
Policies for preventing bias in algorithmic healthcare can include documentation and data protocols for traceability, AI monitoring, and diversity awareness training. Companies could also be required to appoint chief ethics officers. Explainability could also be made a requirement for companies using AI to make decisions. The responsibility to implement these policies falls on many shoulders. Governments could create legislation, federal agencies could create new specialized advisory boards, private companies and hospitals could alter their policies, and third parties could audit to sniff out algorithmic bias and more. Stricter and more standardized policies within healthcare, artificial intelligence, and machine learning would not only improve healthcare for all patients, leading to more accurate diagnoses and treatments, but also increase the trust in patients and medical customers. That's why there are several pros to policy making. Many of these policies would push up development and monitoring costs and increase organizational complexity. Secondly, it is difficult for the government to hire people with technical expertise. Thirdly, it could be difficult to have an agreed upon definition of fairness. Therefore, we need to be strategic in our policy making to make sure we advance healthcare to benefit all.